Hey everybody, what's going on? This is your intro to this video. If you do not want to see me burst and cry in tears, just skip this one. Apparently Stan Lee was a much more important individual to me than I thought he was. See, I can't even just stop. Thank you, Stan Lee, for everything you've done. Watch the fucking video. What's up, everybody? This is Captain Sexy Pants, and due to my long leave of absence, we're going to jump right back into the Funko Pop goodliness today with another one of my favorite Funko Pops, and a little shout out to a dear, dear man who passed away today, Mr. Stan Lee. Here he is. It's the Punisher. Punisher. What can't be said about this guy? So here's the lovely box. There's Frank's eyeballs. And then here's the other ones in the pack. I want all of these, and my birthday's coming up in like 2 weeks. So if anybody can find this Elektra or this Daredevil, let a brother know. No question. And here we go. Here's the top of the box. And I've decided to start taking my pops out of the boxes to do the videos just because I think they come out cooler. So let me give you guys a quick little shout out here. Let me show you what Frank Castle looks like here. This is a wobbly head, little bubble head. You can see his shirt there, and of course he's never without some kind of large assault rifle and the trench coat. The only thing this is the Punisher, as best I can figure, this is the Punisher from the Daredevil show, because as we all know, the original Punisher back from 1974, when he made his first appearance in Spider-Man number 129, he had on some white go-go boots. And as we can clearly see, woo, he does not have his white go-go boots. I actually love this pop. This is the first pop that I've ever opened that was actually a bobblehead. I don't know how you tell the difference, or if they're all supposed to be bobbleheads, or what the deal is, but look, I got a bobblehead too. I'm Frank Castle. So anyways, here's a little rundown about our good buddy, the Punisher here. His real name, of course, is Frank Castle, and like I already said, Spider-Man came out in 1974, and was Stan Lee's passing that I just heard about today. And considering that he was also a war vet, was in Vietnam, and with Veterans Day upon us, I decided that this would be a good idea to do this pop today. And I would like to say thank you to every brave man and woman that has served in the armed forces. Freedom isn't free, and I thank you for any sacrifices that you've made for our country. I'm not the most politically motivated guy or even the most patriotic, but your hard work and your sacrifice does not go unnoticed, at least by Captain Sexy Pants. And it must be true because it says so right here on my hat. Now, for those who don't know, there's been a few different actors that have played Punisher here over the years. The first one would have been Dolph Lundgren. You know, where is punishment? It's here in me. And then we had Thomas Jane in Punisher Warzone, and whatever the name of the guy who is Punisher in the Netflix TV series. I have not yet bothered to watch it because I'm still trying to catch up on Daredevil. Yeah, I know. I'm a bad fanboy. And considering Daredevil's my favorite character in the Marvel Universe, you think I would have watched it by now. Well, anyways, let's get back into not my shortcomings, but Mr. Frank Castle here. Mr. Frank Castle has been in a bunch of video games, and he's kind of been toned down over the years. He started off as basically like a butchering maniac and killed pretty much anybody who crossed his path. And it was very different and very unusual, especially in the mid-70s, especially when they brought him back in the mid to late 80s and the early 90s. But the reason you never see a lot of like Punisher bad guys is because he fucking killed them all. I mean, outside of like Kingpin and oh god, really, Kingpin's the only like big named Marvel bad guy that I can think of that is still kind of around that the Punisher just didn't kill. Yeah, so I love this pop. It's It's definitely going back in the box. This is the first time I've ever had them out and had them in my hand. This is not as detailed or as lifelike as some of the other ones. And the reason I picked this Pop today is because, you know, he got a little boo-boo on his eye, and I got a little boo-boo on mine too, right there. And yes, it hurts. But anyways, yeah, I'm 15. I still get zits. Isn't it great? Yeah, so here we go. Punisher. Here he is. Now, I wanted to talk to everybody about Stan Lee for a minute and how important Stan Lee has been to me in my life. When I was in, I want to say 3rd grade, it's probably the first time that I had bought a comic book. My mom used to go bowling at the Showboat every Friday night. And one of the big things that I got to do, she'd give me like $3. And then I would run off from the arcade and play Pac-Man and Tapper and Track and Field and the cool Star Wars Vector game that you said. You remember that? That was super cool. But this time I was like, I'm going to go get a comic book. So downstairs, outside of the bowling alley, there's a little gift shop. And they had a rack full of comic books. And X-Men was the one that jumped out at me. If I can find the cover, I believe it was X-Men 212. It had Wolverine. If I can find the cover, I believe it was X-Men 212. It had Wolverine on the cover. And he was just mean, and there was blood everywhere. And I'm like, oh my god, this is the best thing I've ever seen. I have to read this comic book. And that was my introduction into comics. And I always loved reading the Stan Lee clips in the back of them. And what Stan Lee did that I don't think enough people give him credit for is when I was a kid, there was no comic book movies. The only comic book movies you had were comic books. I mean, you got the occasional Saturday morning cartoon show or something. But if you really wanted, it's what Stan Lee did to me is he gave these characters life. He gave them emotions. He gave them problems. He gave them troubles. It wasn't like, you know, Superman where it's like, oh, I have to go save that girl over there. Hold on, citizens. I'll be right back. No, Daredevil was trying to figure out how he was going to get his next meal. Wolverine was trying to figure out how he could keep himself in check long enough to actually help somebody without just randomly killing a room full of people. Spider-Man had relationship troubles, and his family and his friends were dying off. You didn't get this in a lot of DC comics unless you're reading Batman or something like that. So what Stan Lee is to me is Stan Lee kind of brought reality into comics. So it kind of gave me, I could, when Daredevil was having trouble even eating, I understood that. That spoke to me. And when the Fantastic Four were fighting Doctor Doom, and Doctor Doom thought he was on the right side of things. It wasn't that Doctor Doom was just an evil bastard. He thought he was right and was willing to go through any means he could to accomplish those goals. And even weird stuff like that made sense to me. And I got to thank Stan Lee for my love in comics. It all started with me with a single issue of X-Men and a single issue of Daredevil. And it's been close to 30 years and I've never bothered to look back. So before you go to bed tonight, tell your kids that it's okay to be a superhero. Tell them that it's okay to be a good guy. Okay, I gotta go. In the immortal words of my favorite YouTuber of all time, Mr. Sunnyside, a peace.